All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a pretty provocative idea from our source material, the claim that for men, the path to success and the path to pleasure just don't overlap. It's an all-or-nothing choice. You can have one or the other, but you can't have both.
And this one quote right here, this is really the whole foundation of the material we're looking at today. Sex and success don't mix. It's a really bold claim, you know? It sets up this entire worldview where discipline and achievement are in a constant battle with indulgence.
So this brings us to what the source calls the Great Divide. The whole point they're making isn't about finding some kind of healthy balance. Nope, it's about making a hard choice between two completely opposite paths. One is all about short-term pleasure, and the other is about disciplined, long-term achievement.
And here's how they break it down, kind of personifying that choice. On one hand, you have the man of purpose. This is the guy who puts his goals first, who has discipline, and who stays in control of his future. On the other hand, you've got the man of pleasure, who's all about indulgence and, according to this view, ultimately gets left behind.
Okay, so if that's the choice, what's the actual cost of indulgence according to this argument? The source claims it's not just some minor distraction, it's a deep, fundamental drain on the very resources you need to get ahead.
The source really puts this question right to you, framing every single moment of indulgence as a direct loss. It's not just about wasting time. The idea is that you're actively burning through the internal fuel you need for success.
And this is where the argument gets really specific about what you're supposedly losing. It calls it the threefold drain. First up, testosterone, which it calls your physical energy. Then you've got motivation, your actual will to win. And finally, mental clarity, your ability to just focus. The source claims that indulgence wipes out all three, leaving you feeling weak and lazy.
So that drain we just talked about? Well, it leads to what the source calls the cycle of cheap pleasure. It breaks down like this. Pornography is said to destroy your mind. Masturbation just saps your energy, and casual sex, that supposedly wrecks your discipline. According to the text, this cycle is what keeps men weak, broke, and unfocused. And this quote right here really boils the whole idea down to one thing: opportunity cost. From this point of view, time is a zero-sum game. Every minute you spend chasing women is a minute you can't spend building your future. Simple as that.
So, okay, if you're not spending that time on pleasure, where does that time and energy go? Well, the source has a pretty clear three-step plan for reinvesting it. Number 1, learn a high-income skill. Number 2, use that skill to build up your business or your career. And number 3, hit the gym and improve your body. The whole idea is to transform that conserved energy into real, tangible assets.
All right, let's move on. To back all of this up, the source then looks to history, pointing to the supposed habits of some really famous, successful people to try and prove its point.
And here we go again. We see that same stark contrast. Those two archetypes. You have the strong man, disciplined, mission-focused, avoids distractions. And then there's the weak man. Can't say no, a slave to his urges, wastes his time. The source basically argues that the only thing separating them is a powerful sense of discipline.
First up, they point to the legendary boxer Muhammad Ali. The text claims he would deliberately abstain from sex before big fights because he believed that self-denial was a direct source of physical power and mental strength inside the ring.
Next, they bring up Alexander the Great. The argument here is pretty straightforward. If your ambition is to conquer the known world by the time you're 30, you just can't afford the distraction of chasing women. Your focus has to be absolute.
And to bring it into the modern day, the source uses Elon Musk as an example. It points to his famous 100-hour work weeks and suggests that to get to that level of success, you need an equally extreme level of focus with absolutely no time for what it calls trivial pursuits.
But it's not just about who succeeded. To really hammer the point home, the source also looks at the downfall of great men. It argues that a lack of sexual discipline led them straight to ruin. It points to the biblical story of Samson, who lost his power, Tiger Woods, who lost millions in endorsements, and Bill Clinton, whose entire legacy was almost destroyed. The message is clear. A lack of discipline is a form of self-destruction.
Okay, so all of this is building up to the final piece of the argument. This idea of becoming the master of your own destiny. And what that means is shifting from being controlled by your impulses to being the one in control.
And this is a really crucial point in the argument.
It's about completely reframing how you see sex itself. The source presents it not just as an act, but as a tool. The weak, it says, use it for pleasure and end up being controlled by it. But the strong, they use it for power, controlling it to serve their bigger mission.
And it's this kind of discipline, according to the source, that's also the real key to earning respect. The argument is that respect isn't given to a man who's just always available. It's for the man who has a clear purpose, who shows iron self-control, and who's committed to something bigger than himself.
And this really brings us to the final piece of logic in the whole argument. It claims that while relationships might be temporary, the success you build, things like power and status, that's permanent. The idea is that by focusing on those permanent assets, you naturally attract the very things the undisciplined man is out there chasing.
And that leaves us with the core message, all wrapped up in one final very provocative question. The whole philosophy here is that self-mastery is the foundation for any kind of external power. The source leaves us with this thought. If you can't even control your own body, how on earth can you expect to control the world?